The restaurant buzzed with quiet conversations and soft music, but Sarah's heart pounded louder than any sound around her. She adjusted her faded dress, the only, nice, one she had left after years of financial struggle, and held her son's small hand tightly. This was supposed to be her chance at something new, yet guilt weighed heavy on her chest. She had no babysitter, no one to turn to, and so her little boy sat beside her on the blind date she wasn't sure she even deserved. When she saw the tall, well-dressed man approaching, she whispered, almost trembling, "I'm so sorry I had to bring my son." Michael, the man she was meeting, paused at her words. He had been told this was a simple dinner, a meeting arranged by a friend who thought he needed balance in his life. A CEO of a large company, Michael was used to boardrooms and deals, not awkward introductions with tired women and curious children. Yet, instead of frowning, he smiled warmly at the boy tugging on his mother's sleeve. "Don't apologize," he said softly. "Family isn't a burden, it's a blessing." Sarah blinked, stunned, not used to kindness when she braced for judgment. They sat at the table, and Sarah's son, Ethan, immediately reached for the bread basket, his wide eyes filled with excitement. She tried to stop him, embarrassed, but Michael chuckled and helped the boy butter a slice. Sarah's cheeks burned with shame. She hadn't wanted her son to appear hungry or unpolished, but the truth was they often struggled to put food on the table. Every laugh from Ethan, though, made Michael's smile grow, as if he found joy in the child's innocence rather than annoyance in his presence. Sarah watched in silence, a strange mix of gratitude and disbelief settling in her chest. As the waiter took their orders, Sarah hesitated over the menu, calculating prices in her head. She picked the cheapest meal and gently urged Ethan to choose something small. Michael noticed, quietly ordering the more filling options, pretending it was for himself but slipping portions onto Ethan's plate when the food arrived. "Boys need to grow strong," he said with a wink. Sarah lowered her gaze, unable to hold back the sting of tears. For years, she had fought to give her son enough, and here was a stranger noticing the little things she wished no one would see. Over the course of dinner, conversation flowed more easily than Sarah expected. She told him about her work as a cashier, about juggling late shifts and school schedules, and about the father who had left before Ethan could even walk. Her voice trembled with vulnerability, but Michael listened without judgment, his eyes steady and kind. In return, he shared stories about his childhood, how his own single mother had raised him after his father passed away, how he'd watched her work multiple jobs to keep him clothed and fed. Sarah felt her defenses slowly melting away, realizing they weren't from such different worlds after all. Ethan's laughter filled the table as Michael pulled coins from his pocket and performed silly tricks. The little boy clapped in delight, the sound echoing through the restaurant like a melody Sarah hadn't heard in years. She found herself laughing too, forgetting the nervous weight in her chest. For a moment, it wasn't a blind date with a stranger. It was simply dinner with someone who saw her and her son not as inconveniences but as people worth his time. She hadn't realized how much she needed that until this very night. But reality tugged harshly at her when the check arrived. Sarah's stomach twisted, knowing she couldn't even afford half. She opened her purse slowly, prepared to offer the few bills she had, but Michael placed a hand gently over hers. "Tonight's on me," he said firmly, not with pity but with genuine generosity. "It's not about money, Sarah. It's about connection." Her lips trembled, torn between gratitude and the pride of a woman who had fought alone for so long. She whispered a small, shaky thank you, hoping he understood the depth behind her words. Walking out of the restaurant, the crisp night air wrapped around them. Ethan skipped ahead, humming happily, while Sarah lingered by Michael's side. She felt conflicted, grateful for the evening, but also afraid. Men had left before, promises had broken, and kindness often came with conditions. Michael sensed her hesitation, his steps slowing to match hers. "You don't have to explain, Sarah," he said gently. "I don't expect anything from you. I'd like to see you again, both of you." His sincerity pierced through her guarded heart. The following weeks became a surprising rhythm of shared dinners, park visits, and late-night conversations. Michael never forced his way into their lives, instead, he simply showed up, steady and dependable. Ethan adored him, running into his arms at every chance, while Sarah watched in awe as her son laughed more freely than he had in years. Yet with every moment of joy, a quiet fear lingered. What if this was too good to last? What if, like before, someone walked away when life became too real? That fear reached its peak when Ethan fell sick one weekend. Sarah sat in the hospital waiting room, exhausted and terrified, praying her son would be okay. She hadn't wanted to bother Michael, hadn't wanted to drag him into her chaos. But when he appeared, carrying hot coffee and worry etched across his face, her walls crumbled. "You should have called me," he said softly, taking her hand in his. "I told you, I'm here. Not just for dinners, but for all of it." Tears spilled down her cheeks, the truth of his commitment wrapping around her like a blanket she'd longed for but never had. In the days that followed, Michael continued to prove his words. He was there at Ethan's soccer games, cheering louder than anyone. He helped Sarah with groceries when her paycheck stretched too thin. More than once, he told her, "You're stronger than you realize." And though Sarah tried to resist the growing warmth in her heart, she couldn't deny the way her son's happiness mirrored her own. For the first time in years, hope began to bloom again inside her, fragile yet undeniable. Still, there were moments Sarah doubted herself. One evening, while Ethan played nearby, she confessed her fears. "Michael, I'm just me. A cashier, a mom who barely makes it. You're successful, wealthy, surrounded by people who belong in your world. I don't fit there." He took her hands, his gaze unwavering. "Sarah, I don't care about any of that. I care about you, about Ethan. The world you think I belong to feels empty without the laughter and love I've found here." Her breath caught, stunned by the raw honesty in his words. Slowly, Sarah learned to let herself believe. She allowed herself to dream again, to imagine a future where she wasn't struggling alone, where love wasn't just a distant memory. Michael never rushed her, never pressured, he simply kept showing up, his presence a quiet promise she could finally trust. Every smile from Ethan, every shared meal, every gentle touch on her hand whispered the same truth: they weren't a burden. They were a gift he had been waiting for all along. Months later, on a simple sunny afternoon, Michael knelt beside Ethan at the park, helping him build a sandcastle. Sarah watched them from a bench, her heart swelling with emotions she once thought she'd lost forever. Ethan turned to Michael with innocent eyes and asked, "Will you always stay with us?" Michael's answer was simple, steady, and true. "Always." Sarah's tears spilled freely, not of pain but of healing. She finally allowed herself to believe in love again. Their story was never about wealth or status. It wasn't about a CEO sweeping a struggling mother off her feet. It was about kindness, patience, and the courage to see worth where the world often turned away. Sarah had apologized for bringing her son, but in truth, Ethan had been the bridge that connected two lonely hearts. And in Michael, they both found not just love, but a family built on respect and unwavering devotion. Sarah knew challenges would still come, the bills, the doubts, the everyday struggles of raising a child. But now, she didn't face them alone. With Michael by her side, with laughter filling their small apartment, with Ethan's hand in hers, the weight felt lighter than ever before. For the first time in years, she looked at the future not with fear, but with hope. Because sometimes, life's most beautiful blessings come disguised as burdens. And sometimes, a simple smile at the right moment is all it takes to remind us that we are worthy of love, no matter how broken we feel.